Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5. It's come to the attention that I either didn't upload the video or not everybody saw the story of the chick that sent me to the hospital. And it's a much more broader story than that. This was not a romantic relationship that went bad, and I didn't even know this girl until the day of the event. And to tell the story, I have to put context involved, or give you context. And like I said, this was the first time that I was sent to the hospital. She really ended me rightly, I guess you can say. And it all started that there was this guy that I went to school with. I went to school with him in junior high and high school. He was a year or two below me, and he thrived on violence. All he could talk about was the fights they've been in and won, and he watched bum fights on the internet. He loved violence. He loved fighting. And he didn't just love fighting in a competitive manner. He just, street fights. He didn't care if it was, a, fair fight, or if it was, within the confines of a ring and a referee. He just loved fighting. And he was a really evil dude, South Rise Again, I'll say this, he loved two things. He loved fighting, and he loved hog hunting. And, he was a bully. And we were in the gym, and they were playing some game, some of my friends, and I guess some of his people. And he started getting rough with one of my friends. To be fair to my friend, I didn't know he was immune to pain. I later found this out when he came to mine and my brother's martial arts club that we started at our house. And we practiced on him, and he was pretty much immune to pain. But I didn't know this at the time, and I noticed he started jumping on my friend. I pulled him off of my friend. He started shoving me and cursing me out, saying some really terrible things. And to be fair, I was not immune, and I said some things to him back. And he said, "Come on, let's fight." And the way our gym is set up at our school, we have the playing ground, or the gym floor. Then we have the bleachers. There's a wall behind the bleachers. And surrounding that, within that wall, there were hallways. And it wasn't uncommon for kids to go out in those hallways and fight, because teachers generally didn't pay attention there. He's like, "Come on, let's go to the hallways and fight." And I said, "No." I said, "I'm not going to follow you to the hallways to fight." I said, "If you want to fight me, you'll fight me right here, right now, in front of everybody." And at this time, I wore a cowboy hat at the time. I don't know why. And I actually folded over my eyes and lay down on the floor and said, "You can come back when you're ready to fight." Which is completely the wrong thing to do. He could have just jumped me right there and ended me rightly. But anyways, he went off, and I got back up, and he came back, and he was like, "Hey, we got some boxing gloves. You won't get hurt too badly." I said, "I'm not afraid of getting hurt." I said, "I'm just not going to follow you to the halls and fight. If you want to fight me, you'll fight me right here, right now. Otherwise, leave." And so he walked off, and then this petite, small girl, she was smaller than me, shorter than me, came out and started cursing me out worse than he did. And she was like, "I heard you were talking trash about so-and-so." I don't know if they're boyfriend or girlfriend or what, but, she was just bringing hellfire. And I said, "No, I'm not talking trash about him. I talked to him, and he is now gone." And by this time, the Ring of Death was around us. You know the Ring of Death. The Ring of Death is what happens when there's fixing to be a fight, and everybody wants to get a proper seat or vantage point where they can watch it. And I told her, I said, "Hey," she wanted to fight me. She propositioned me to fight. I said, "Hey, I don't hit girls. I don't fight girls." I said, I just, I don't believe in that." And I even submitted to her. I lowered myself. I said, "Hey, I'm not going to fight you. I am no threat to you." And by this time, she's at my 12 o'clock. About at 10:50, area, there was this guy with a mullet. Keep in mind that he had a mullet. This is why I chose the words that I chose. And this guy with a mullet said, "Go ahead and hit him. We'll tell the teachers he hit you first." This ticked me off immensely. And I moved my head to the side looking at him, and I said, "I hate it when white trash tries to start trouble," which is a terrible thing to say. I have family from that background, and I think anybody can go back in their family and find people of a bad background, or unfavorable background. We have crazy people in all of our families. But I said that to him because he was encouraging a fight that I did not want, and then going to tell the teachers that I did something that I did not want to do or did not do. And then he had a mullet. So I said, "I hate it when white trash tries to start trouble." Next thing I know, I looked at her and she's like, "I'm not white trash," and she slaps my ear. I don't know how long I was out, but I got up and the ring of death was gone. Like I said, I have no clue how long I was out. I don't know how fast it takes for everybody to clear out, but I got up, started holding my ear. And you know how when you stump your toe or hit your funny bone and you hold it, it kind of makes it feel a little bit better, or it kind of deadens the pain? When your eardrum busts, there was no soothing it. And I was holding it, I was pacing back and forth. I was in a lot of pain. It's one of the worst things I've ever experienced. And anywho, she told on herself. She confessed. And I later found out that that was to slap her around the school, and she was a very unpopular girl at that point. There was a lot of girls that watched the events unfold, and they felt bad for me. They saw me submit. They saw me say, "Hey, I don't hit girls. That is against what I believe." And she took advantage of that, and a lot of chicks at the school were disgusted with her. So she went to the principal and told on herself, and she also, when she talked to her grandpa that she lived with, told him that I called her a whore and a bitch and all these things, which I didn't do. I never called her a whore. And it was several years afterwards I referred to her as a bitch. I said I got bitch slapped by a bitch, which I shouldn't have said, but I kind of got, when I was reliving it, I got really irritated. But I never called her those things at that moment. I was completely submissive. And her grandpa called and said, "Hey, I ought to beat your son up and stuff." And I said, "Hey, I'm waiting here with bells on. You're not a chick. I have no problems with that." And then he went to the school and started, cursing my name and just talk about how terrible of a person I was. And I don't know if it was the principal or the school chief of police, but I had a good reputation at that school. I worked hard at my reputation. And he went to the grandpa, said, "Look, you need to stop talking about Austin like that. He's the kind of guy you want your granddaughter to marry." And then after that, we had an out-of-court settlement. He paid for my surgery. He agreed to pay my medical bills. And I got a scar on my head. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it's kind of in this area right here. And that's where they took tissue out, and they grafted that fascia tissue to my ear and basically made me a new eardrum. And that's why I also found out that I was allergic to hydrocodone. Funny story, side story. When I was in the visiting room, I had my shirt off, and after they gave me hydrocodone, there was this rash that faded in and out, and then it would kind of travel across my chest like an alien was inside of me, and it'll fade in and out and change shapes. And I thought I was just tripping. I was in a good mood, and I was looking down. I was like, "Whoa, this is weird." And I looked up, and everybody's eyes were big. I was like, "You can see that too?" I was like, "Yeah, we better not give you that again." So that was interesting. But back to this violent man, this dude who was obsessed with violence and hog hunting. First of all, his best friend at the school, they were pretty much inseparable. They hog hunted together and they hung out together for the most part. He came up to me after the event happened. He said, "Hey, look, I don't agree with what so-and-so did to you, and I apologize." And I thought that was very strange, that this guy's best friend was disgusted with what his friend did and felt the need to apologize to me. I mean, the guy that apologized to me did nothing wrong to me. I mean, nothing wrong at all. My beef was generally with this guy because he was a bully, but this other kid did nothing to me. And that always stood out to me. But there was some other things worth stating about this guy, this violent guy. When my stepdad went to the school to talk to the chief of police, and I'm going to curse here. Forgive me if you're offended by this video, but I'm just quoting people. He says, "Look, so and so is a piece of shit. That's all. That's all he's good for. Fertilizing the ground. That's all." They said he's a piece of shit. He's always going to be a piece of shit, and he's going to fertilize the ground, and that's all he's good for. Which is sad that that's the impression that you leave on the school. And so a few years later, he got kicked out of school because he stole a tractor, and he went to juvie for that. And then a few years later, he got sent to the forgive the dog. He got sent to the he sent his wife to the emergency room because he beat his wife, and the wife had to be hospitalized. And then he was on the run from the law for X amount of time. He eventually got caught. I don't know where he's at now, but he just had a very dark life. And I genuinely wanted to fight him, but I thought it was in my best interest not to follow him to some area where, one, there was no referee. None of my friends are going to be there to break up the fight. And two, there was no teachers around. And I thought if I stayed in the middle of the gym, where they do the toss-up, and everybody was around, if something bad happened, that someone would break up the fight. And I could articulate that I had nowhere to run, and that, things just happened. But anyways, he was just a bad dude, and because he didn't man up and fight me in my arena of choice, his girlfriend manned up and ended me rightly. And it's weird. I was genuinely embarrassed when I woke up. I can't believe I got knocked out by a chick, and all that stuff. I was thinking all this stuff to my head. I was like, my ear hurts. And I wasn't even going to tell anybody. I was just going to be like, hey, I'll sleep this off, and hopefully, everything will work out. And if it wasn't for her confessing, I don't know if I would have ever got my ear fixed. But that's the story of the chick who sent me to the hospital. It was unfortunate, but there's a few lessons we can learn here. One, don't lose your cool in a violent situation. Aggression is great for winning fights, but don't lose control. You need to be of sound mind, and you need to be able to make good decisions. And I think that's the lesson that sums up this encounter. I should not have been cocky by laying my cowboy hat over my eyes and laying down and saying, "I'll be waiting right here." I shouldn't have called that guy with the mullet white trash, even though, it's kind of obvious. And I'm not saying that because of his mullet. I'm just saying by his attitude, that he would encourage a chick to fight someone who didn't want to fight her. That's just terrible. It's trash. And I apologize in this video if I offended anybody by using any of this type of language, but this is how I truly feel. I quoted some people, and I felt that these people who were bullies and encouraging violence, I felt they were trash, and I still feel that way. That's just how I feel. I did not intend on fighting anybody that day. I'm not the kind of guy that loves violence. I love MMA. I love watching MMA. I love martial arts. But the difference is that in MMA and martial arts, there was a referee and there was a mutual agreement that we're going to fight each other within rules. And so I like that. I like that skill set, but I don't like bullies, and I don't like being put in situations that I don't want to be in. So that's what happened. And, it is what it is. So that's the story of the chick that sent me to the hospital. We weren't romantically involved. I didn't even know who she was before that day. And she really, I love this phrase, ended me rightly. So that's it. I'm a Satsu 5, and I'm out.